Hey guys, Andrew Esquivel here, back with another review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the V16 Turbo LED Headlight Conversion Kit to convert your halogen headlights into LEDs. Now, although the box says all light, which you would think that is the brand, this came courtesy of a company called Cougar Motors, which, if you've been following my reviews over the past month or so about LED headlights, you'll know that I've already reviewed a product from Cougar Motors. However, they saw my review and they contacted me because they wanted me to try out their newest version of their headlights, which, well, I'll let the letter they sent explain it to you. Essentially, they wanted me to kind of do a thorough review on this because they consider me a reliable, objective, and experienced shopper and reviewer. Their words. Very kind words indeed. So, that's what I'm going to do. So, as you can see, I've already taken them out of the package here. Let's go over the specs really quick. Now, these are once again running on the infamous 9007 socket series, which has been known to have serious compatibility issues with aftermarket products. Each bulb is producing 3,600 lumens, has an estimated lifespan of 10,000 plus hours, pulls 40 watts each, and is running the 6,000 Kelvin color spectrum. So, now that we've got those details out of the way, let's talk about the bulb. Now, you can skip back to my other review of the Cougar Motors LED review that I did originally, and the first thing you're going to notice right away is this reflector unit that is on these bulbs is way bigger. You'll see there's two diodes, one up top, one bottom. Now, when it switches from high to low beam, it goes with either this one or that one. So the reflector unit, I believe, is for low beam, but I could be wrong. So we're gonna make sure to test that out and make sure we get everything set up properly. But that's one of the first things we notice, and we also notice the heatsink is slightly different. Now, one thing we need to talk about is the gap in between the gasket and the heatsink, because with the 9007 series headlight, you will have to use your circular retainer lock, which goes in between the heatsink and the gaskets. Now, before, we had a problem with the first version of this system from Cougar Motors because we couldn't remove the gasket. Well, here's the thing. You can definitely remove it from this one, but it's not like other LEDs. In fact, it's a little more finicky and going to be more time-consuming because most LEDs, they have like a little system where you twist it and it pops right off. Not these. You see, we have to remove this red rubber gasket, and underneath there's going to be two screws that we'll have to undo, and then we can take this off and then put the retainer lock on. Sounds easy, but there are numerous issues with this. First off, let's just go over step by step why it's difficult. So we have to slide this red gasket off, and to do that we use a flathead screwdriver to pry under it and pull it off. I'll show you. Alright, we have the flathead screwdriver under it, and we pull it off. Okay, that part's simple. That's not so bad. However, let's find those screws we're talking about. Right there. It's a Phillips head screw. Problem. I got the smallest screwdriver I can find on hand at the moment. This is a pretty small Phillips head screwdriver, but it was still far too big to fit inside the hole to grab onto the screw. And this is already pretty small. So what I had to do is find a specialty screwdriver this diameter. And this isn't even a this isn't even a Phillips. This is a flathead. Thankfully, it works. So this is the kind of size you're going to need, finger for scale, in order to get the screws out. And let's not forget, these are tiny, tiny screws. If you drop them and lose them, you're out of luck. So be super, super careful that you do not lose these screws. But let's go ahead and take the screws out. Alright, the screws are out, and as you can see, They are very, very tiny, which is going to pose a problem in just a moment. You'll see why. So, let's take these screws away for a minute here and talk about getting this gasket off. See, now we can slide it up, and you think all is well now. So what we have is the circular retainer lock for a 9007 headlight for a Mitsubishi Outlander 2003 LS. So we put the retainer lock on, and immediately there is a big issue. So let's kind of keep it flat. There sits the hole for the screw. Now let's make this all level. Oh boy. So that screw hole is lower than the top portion of this retainer lock. That's going to make it very hard to get to, and as you can see, there's markings all over the place because this is not easy to get on. At least not with this particular retainer lock. You see, my Outlander is special in the sense that it has these raised portions right here. They're just a few millimeters, but they make a big, big difference. If you want it to be easier, you can file down those portions and you can screw it in a lot easier, because it is possible, but it took a long time, way longer than you would think you should have to spend on something like this. So this has to go over. It has to be screwed back in. And it can be. It's just really, really difficult. But let's go ahead and get this screwed in so we can actually plug it up to the car. Alright, so we are in the engine bay of my 2003 Mitsubishi Outlander LS. And right there is where the headlight goes in. So we will attempt to put it in, and I believe the reflectors should try to face downward in this particular case. And they can take a few minutes of finagling to get it on, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so we got it in there, and it's a little bit of a pain because in order to get the bulb in, there is a keyed system so that it can only go in one particular way. And then you have to line that up as well with the holes and notches for the retainer. But once it's in there really good. Next, we take the controller, which has the connection here, which just gets connected directly to the factory wiring harness. And just like that, we have our aftermarket LED installed. Now that's just one side. We got to go do it to the other, and then we're going to see just how well these really work. Okay, so we are outside at the garage door where we can kind of look at the beam pattern and see how it looks. Now, keep in mind, this is not a really accurate way of seeing how well the pattern looks. We're going to drive down the road in just a minute, and it is a little windy, so I apologize for that. But these are the low beams, and if we switch over to high beams, it gets a little brighter, and the temperature is a little different in terms of the color. It's a little more blue in real life. So on the door, it looks, somewhat okay, but we'll see how it actually, looks on the road with the real test. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we are on the same stretch of road that I test every single one of my LED headlights on. And let's get a first impression here of what it looks like in real life. So looking down the road, the throw distance seems to be okay at best. There is some patchiness. There's obvious spots that have more light than others, and we seem to be getting some light coming in diagonally, and other spots seem to be okay-ish with the diffusion. So I'd have to rate this as patchy at best. Now, this is low beams. Let's go ahead and try high beams. High beams are a lot better diffused. That being said, the throw distance is almost negligible in terms of the real life. Now, what you see on camera versus what I see in real life can be a little different, which is why I'm narrating this whole thing. But let's go ahead and drive down the same stretch of road that I test all these lights on and see what they look like as we move along. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to an area of the neighborhood that has no assisted lighting, meaning there is no street lights on the side of the road to help aid in any particular manner. So this will allow us to be able to see the lights from the headlights of my car and nothing else. As we drive along here, get a kind of good sense of what you can and can't see. And unfortunately, it doesn't feel like I'm seeing things all that great. So, sorry about that, camera skipped on me again. Anywho, we're going to make that turn right here into the darkest area of the neighborhood, where it is just our lights and nothing else, allowing us to gauge, you know, just how good any of this is. So, looking down the road, the light is usable, but on the very low spectrum of usable. It's still patchy. You know, we've got diagonal beams going here and there, and particularly from the right headlight going to all the way like diagonal to the left, it's pretty obvious that it's not working properly in my reflector unit. So let's go try let's go and, try the high beams on. These are the high beams. They're much more directionalized, I'd say. But it doesn't really feel like it's providing any more realistic distance and visibility. It's about the same distance, just a little brighter. So let's drive down this road, and what we're going to do now is we're going to turn onto another road, and I will switch back and forth between a high and low beam as we go down another dark road, so you can gauge. Possum. I think my brakes work well. Possum is okay. So, yeah. Alright, we got a train coming to the left, but we're going right. So, sorry, back onto my high beams, just for this night driving section here. And we are almost at the spot. It's a little windy out today. Turn my high beams off just because I got a guy coming in front. And we're going to turn a right onto this road. And what I'm going to do now is, like I said, I'm going to go back and forth between high and low beam, and I'll tell you what it's at. So right now we're on low beam, high beam, low beam, high beam, low beam, high beam, low beam, high beam, low beam, high beam. Oh, look at that, another possum. Out of the way, possum. Yeah, we've got a lot of possums today. It's weird. Low beam, high beam, low beam, high beam. Okay, so that should give you a good idea of the difference between high and low beam in my reflector unit. Now, it's time to kind of give my final thoughts on this product really quick. So, here's the thing. In a reflector unit, the design of a bulb needs to be very particular in order to work, because reflector units are often designed to use halogens. And the thing about halogens are, they produce light from the center in every direction, 360 degrees from the base. LEDs have diodes that face particular directions and cannot mimic a halogen in the sense that it's producing light in multiple, well, pretty much every direction outward from the radius, or from the center. So, because of that, reflector units have a hard time mimicking the perfect beam patterns, and there's levels of scattered patchiness and all of that. The worst is scattered beams. These aren't scattered, these are patchy. Scattered beams are when there's obvious dark spots, and then there's light spots and dark spots and what have you. Patchy is when we have light everywhere, but some spots are obviously brighter than others, and diffused is what we would want to see, which is an even dispersion of light throughout the throw and angle of the beam. Another problem is the high beams. Look, the high beams are facing a completely different direction than the low beams because there's a reflector that's on this particular set that angles it at a particular direction in the reflector unit. So there's a reflector on the bulb and reflectors in the headlight unit. And as you switch between the two, it's going to change the way the light bounces around in the headlights, making it, once again, very different. But the thing is, if you have projector headlights, not reflector, the whole concept changes, because projectors work a little different. Now, I've never used these in a projector headlight, but from what I understand, projectors tend to do a little better with aftermarket stuff like this. So, for my purposes, I still would not recommend this bulb. It is a considerable task just to get the gasket on, which is something that should be a simple twist and lock sort of mechanism. I understand that screws hold things in together much better, but when you have a retainer, a circular retainer that has little access for the screws, not to mention the screws are extremely small and easy to lose. I did lose them a few times when I was putting them all together, making it very difficult to assemble. And then putting it in your headlight unit in your vehicle can be a bit finicky because, well, it's keyed to go in one way, and then also we have the retainer which needs to be lined up as well. So this whole bulb is a lot more difficult to use. As far as its brightness goes, it's moderately bright. And the thing about it is, switching between low and high beams changes the color temperature just a little bit. Somewhere between 6,000 and 6,500 Kelvin. So that's one thing that's kind of odd, is there's an inconsistency in color temperature. Overall, I don't think I would recommend this bulb, not for a reflector unit, and just not in general, simply because the design is more hassle than it should be. So that's my final thoughts on the bulb. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, show your friends, check out my other videos. I got plenty of them. And as always, I'll see you next time.